Thank you for joining this TYTAN Professional webinar. My name is Samuel. I'm joined today by my colleague Kristen, and we're looking at how to train new insulation installers, specifically like canned foam insulation. We'll be looking at how to train new people and kind of how to think about that training. I've got some ideas. And obviously we see a lot of different contractors using our products, and so Kristen and I get a lot of the calls kind of when something goes wrong and they need help. And so we've got some ideas for training that can kind of help prevent some of those issues. So this is what we'll look at during this webinar. It won't be super long, probably 20 minutes or so. But we'll look at who is TYTAN. So you see our TYTAN logo up there, kind of the challenges surrounding training, and then kind of core skills to think about. And I've got some ideas for how to train new folks. And then we'll also look at some of the products that we make that kind of reduce that complexity. So as a refresher, if you're not aware, we are a single source manufacturer of sealants and adhesives. And so our brand name is TYTAN. You can see that on all of our products, but the company is actually called Selena. But we make foam sealants that are used by professional insulation companies, and then a lot of different types of foam adhesives as well for bonding different substrates. And then you can see on the right, a lot of these products kind of screw on one of those gun applicators. So from my perspective, the challenge surrounding training new people, so common issues that new insulation installers face is there is a learning curve, and obviously we're kind of preaching to the choir here, but there's a learning curve involved where people kind of have to start to understand how the installation fits into the building codes. So I think that's not always super obvious for new people. Ultimately, all houses are different. I mean, even though they might be the same designs one to the next, if they're built with wood, which like 95% of houses in the US are built with wood, the wood tends to warp in different areas depending on if it's wet or not, or whatever you want to say. How it gets cut. And so, that can result in some like inconsistent results. And then ultimately, if any mistakes are made and the inspection fails or whatever, that can cause rework where people have to go back in and fix whatever the issue is. And that takes time and material. And so you're unhappy as the insulator, the builder's unhappy, everybody's unhappy when those mistakes get made. So ultimately, what we need to teach new installers is how to choose the right product or tool involved. Because each of these foams, though the can may look similar, many of them behave very differently because they're designed for different reasons or for different applications. And so they also need to learn how to use it the right way. There is a kind of a proper technique, I suppose. From our perspective as the manufacturer, there is a right way. And then ultimately, we're trying to get the right results. Maybe that's passing a blower door test or providing some R value for the wall. I don't know. Depends on the application, but you're really trying to get the right result. And so here, like I mentioned, maybe you're trying to pass a certain blower door test, and so you can imagine if the walls are kind of leaky, then your result here is not going to be good. Maybe you have some kind of energy efficiency standards you're trying to meet, and draft air is leaking in or the cold air is leaking out, and so that can cause issues. But these are a lot of the problems that professional insulation contractors deal with. And you can imagine as a new person, If you're not aware of some of these things, that can cause an issue. So some core skills to master. So we thought about the challenges. Now we're thinking about, okay, what are the areas where we need to kind of grow in order to reach, that master level. So understanding the different foam types, we'll look at these. Using the control knob. So thinking about how to apply it. There's a technique involved. Part of it's understanding how the foams cure and behave. But really understanding that impact that the foam has on the inspection. You can get called back out. Or, these are issues that we see, but overusing window and door foam, or deciding just, I'm just going to use some high expansion foam around the windows and doors, and that can cause issues where the windows don't close or open. Then there's some kind of safety concerns as well, using the right PPE, meeting the ACH targets, using Fireblock the right way, and really understanding where each product needs to be applied. Maybe they're using the right product just in the wrong spot. And then ultimately considering efficiency, like nobody wants to see product go to waste. And so that can cause an issue if they're using it inefficiently. So considering our window and door and Fireblock foams, so what I mentioned at the top, people understanding the different foam types. So the window and door foam is really intended for use around windows and doors. And the Fireblock foam is that orange foam that stops the draft air from fueling the fire from room to room. And so when you start to, and here's what I'm talking about, where you're using, maybe you're supposed to use Fireblock in that house, but you put it around the window. So you can see on that little picture to the left, you can see they're using the orange window or orange Fireblock foam around the windows. That can cause an issue. And then on the right, you can see we're applying the window and door foam around the windows. So that's what you want to use, not the orange Fireblock foam, because they expand at different rates. They're both made out of polyurethane, but that can cause an issue. Then when you think about efficiency, you want to be cleaning your gun applicator, especially when you switch products. You can see here, these are screenshots from a video that we recorded where we were cleaning out this foam gun. And so you want to flush it out with that cleaner, especially if you're switching from the window and door foam to the Fireblock foam, switching from one product to the next. If you're just, using Fireblock foam, you use a whole can, then you use another can, then another can. You don't need to clean it out between those because it's the same product. But you can have a lot of product that gets stuck in that barrel. Well, not stuck, it's just passing through the barrel. And so you want to flush all that out. And so if you train people on these topics, like this is what you want to review with people typically, you can just have a more efficient job. And so here's an idea that I have on the training. So if you're bringing in a new person, here's kind of 4 areas to consider touching. So here I put I do, you watch. So you start out as the trainer installing the product and the new person watches. Then once that seems sufficient and they say, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing, then they can then help you. At this stage, you move to where the new person actually starts to install the product and you help them. And then eventually, at the 4th stage, the trainee is now applying product and the trainer is just watching. And so on the first day, whenever they first come out, so a lot of professional insulators are are insulating, 3 to 4 houses a day, kind of depending on the size of the house. And so here's an idea, is that on the first house you go to that morning, the new person just watches. On the second house, a new person could maybe help you get the right products out. You tell them like, hey, can you go get the window foam out of the truck, bring it over here, help me clean the guns out. And then on the third house, the new person applies the foam, and the trainer maybe watches and points out like, hey, I see a gap here around this window. You need to fill that. And then eventually you get to the point where the new person is just applying the foam and the trainer is just watching to make sure everything's going to pass inspection. So getting into, okay, so a couple of products that we have that kind of reduce complexity. So a lot of insulation companies are using froth pack 2-component foam kits. And so if you're not aware of what this is, it's just when I say 2 components, it's this part A and part B that are mixed together. They're spray foaming walls with it. They're repairing areas with it. And so you can see on the right some kind of common areas these get installed. Maybe it's in a wall or in a roof, maybe around a warehouse or something. And so they typically come in these kits. And so we developed a product that many users have told us is just easier to use, and we call it thermospray. It's just easy spray insulation. That's what we call it. So you can see it getting applied there. Basically, there's just no wasted material, and it's way easier to use. You only use what you need, and there's lower cost per board foot. So you can see over on the right, you just shake the can, apply it to the gun, and pull the trigger, and you're off to the races. There's no dialing in the part A and part B. It's all pre-mixed in there. So here's some additional pictures. You can see it's intended to replace and or repair 2-component foam systems. And it's got a yield of about 21 board feet. Another, so you can imagine, especially for thermospray, you could actually hand this to the new guy, whereas the froth packs are a little bit more intimidating. So getting into other areas for air sealing. So the most common products people are using for air sealing is Sill Seal, those pink gasket strips, or just like painter's caulk around the top plate and bottom plate. So you can see this guy's applying it here. And so this stuff takes a long time to use. You're stapling it on there. So some of the issues, so this picture on the right is one where I went into an attic and I saw this in a new build here where we're at in Texas. And so basically this stuff can get knocked out of place. It requires staples. And so when you staple it, you're literally just punching a hole in the barrier. If you're using painter's caulk, there's shrinkage involved there. It's very temperature sensitive. It's not going to rebound at all. And so I'll show you what I mean by rebound here in a second. But yeah, you can see how that Sill Seal got knocked out of place, and now there's just going to be air leaking in and out right there. So we make a simple product. We call it gasket foam. It doesn't shrink. It'll rebound. And here I got a little picture here that shows you. You can see how I'm squishing it down there with my finger, and it rebounds back out. And so that seals that gap between the top plate and the drywall. And so this product's way easier to use than Sill Seal. It applies much faster, and you're not punching a hole in it. It just sticks to the wood. So yeah, you can see it's way faster install speed. It creates it seals up, prevents air leakage. Okay, so that's it that I had for this webinar. I want to thank you for watching. So we have content that we put on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You're welcome to check us out there. I post a lot of videos kind of answering frequently asked questions and kind of other industry related topics. And so as a reminder, we are a single source manufacturer of sealants and adhesives. And we have several different types of foam sealants. We talked about the fire block and window and door foams. Specifically today, we also have black foam, RV and auto. And then we have foam adhesives that are used for other types of construction, like framing and drywall applications. All right, well, thank you for joining this webinar or watching the recording. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. You can go to our website, titan.com/US, and we would be happy to answer your questions.
Thanks, Samuel.
All right.